Hey there, I'm Andrew from ListingAI, and I'm going to show you today how to make a CMA with ListingAI. So CMA is a really helpful tool to help you walk into a conversation with a potential client and really show them what you know, show them that you have a lot of value to bring to the table, and frankly, set realistic expectations around what their property might sell for. It's also really helpful throughout the sale process, but I really encourage agents to use it as a tool, helping them actually close deals that are really just leads at this point. So let's get into it. So we try to make CMAs extremely easy. Once you've got a ListingAI account, you can start creating one by clicking the CMA button here on the home screen, or you can go to your account menu and click CMA Generator. Once I'm in here, I can just type in any address. I'm going to pick an address that I'm familiar with and hit Generate CMA. This process just takes a minute. We've got to pull some data down from the local data sources that are going to give us the comparables and the property details. Now let's have a look at this. So first of all, the first section of this report is just telling you a little bit about how you can use this report. It's important to understand that this isn't an appraisal evaluation. We're not appraisers. We can't value the property. But what we can do is present data to you and allow you to come up with your own opinion around what the property is worth. So this is helpful for understanding pricing strategy, setting expectations with your clients, thinking about market timing, and really just understanding what's happening in the market by doing some market analysis. So as you scroll down, the first section you're going to get here is on our likely estimate of where the pricing might end up. And we're going to give you a high and low range. And then we're also going to give you a rationale. And this rationale is based on details that we're able to pull about recent comparable sales in the area. So you can use this, you should study this, you can look at this, and it'll be part of the narrative that you can go into your conversation with your client with to really show up prepared and informed and to speak like a local expert. So understanding, for example, in this case, that it's a balanced market and understanding what the other comparables look like and how they've been performing. Specifically, the addresses will be very valuable for you as an agent because the client you're speaking to probably has a good idea about what's been selling in the neighborhood. And when you show up and you can echo that back to them and give a fresh perspective, potentially, or reaffirm their perspective, you're going to be able to have a really good conversation. So this works both for providing an estimate on the price and on the potential rent that you might obtain for this sort of property. And again, a low and a high estimate is provided with what we think the likely realistic number is. And so it doesn't really matter if you're going into a conversation about an investor or you're going into a conversation about a buyer, you can really show up informed here. Of course, the comparables show up in a map, so you can see the subject property and you can see the surrounding nearby properties. Now, I'll get into more detail about those first, but it's important to understand what this blue area is. This is your school district. So this is showing all the properties that we're only going to show you the first 25 comparables, but it's going to show you 25 comparables and it'll annotate whether they are or are not in your school district. Now, a lot of the time valuations can only be applied to your property by your mortgage appraisers if the subject property that you're comparing it to, that you're justifying the valuation against, is in the same school district. So we'll call out if the school district is different for you. But in this case, everything is in the same school district, which is great. Now, as I scroll down, it's going to have the property details. Again, just trying to help you show up and sound like an expert. You can now talk about the type of house, the number of bedrooms, bathrooms, square foot, lot size, when it was built, how it's heated, how it's cooled, everything is here. Now, this won't always be this complete depending on the data sources that we have available. And unfortunately, those data sources do vary in quality quite substantially across the country. But generally speaking, you're going to get a report that looks something like this. And there may be instances where this report doesn't line up with reality. Now, that can be explained in a variety of different ways. One of the most common ways is really just unpermitted changes. So when a homeowner improves their property, but it didn't go through the appropriate channels at the county, we will pull records that reflect what is on the paperwork for the property, what's in the building permit history, but you on the ground may be encountered with a different version of reality. So again, this will help you point out and understand some differences between reality and what's documented. Of course, the taxation information is going to be there. And then the most important thing is what are the comparables we're using to come up with this valuation. So when you look at these comparables, these are the individual properties that we have used in order to determine the valuation of this property. Again, scrolling up, you can see these on the map and you can click on them. And you can go, let's see that subject property. Okay, it's this one here. Now you may want to go and do some more research to determine, is this a reasonable comparable? And we're not going to necessarily enforce our version of what we think is reasonable on you. So by default, we've come up with 25 reasonable comparables. Now you may decide you only want 5. That's totally fine. You can pick any 5 out of here and remove the rest. So if I want to remove this one and this one, I just need to click the exclude button and they will go. So I'm going to get rid of all the other comparables except for, I'm going to keep 4 of them around. So we'll get rid of a few more. Remove. There you go. I'm going to keep these 4 comparables. Now I haven't done this very methodically. Obviously I encourage you, if you're going to remove and change the report, to do it really carefully. But what you can now do is, say you made a mistake, you can click see the excluded ones. You can look at them and go, oh, I meant to include that one. That's meant to be there. Okay, restore. Now it's back in the list. And you can obviously remove it again. Now the report's going to warn you here. There's been exclusions made. Recalculation is needed. You've excluded 21 comparables. Click regenerate analysis to update the pricing narrative. Now, previously the narrative we may have given you referenced comparables that you've now removed. At the very least, the fact that you have updated the comparables with information tells us something about how we should think about the property. So we're going to now allow you to regenerate the analysis. It's going to remind you here that you're going to overwrite some data that we previously pulled for you, and you can click regenerate. And it's going to make a new version of the CMA, just including the comparables that you've just provided. So this is going to be slimmed down, a lot more refined, a lot tighter, and hopefully something that you can actually practically either use with on your mortgage side, or something that you can just use in conversation with your client. So same deal. Now the pricing has been updated. The high and low estimate are different. The rental analysis doesn't actually necessarily change much based on the sale comparables. It's based on other factors, but it's up to date. And you can see the map now only shows those 4 comparables that we left in place. Otherwise, everything else is exactly the same. This didn't change any details about the property or the tax information. That's all consistent. Now, if you find that there is something about this that you just fundamentally disagree with, you don't think our analysis is correct, that's totally fine. You're on the ground, you're seeing the property. You may know that there are improvements, or there's a substantial quality difference, or there's an element of the lot that is unique that just doesn't come through in the data. But on the ground, you can see that, and that's frankly why agents are valuable. So you can come in here and you can adjust this to match what you think is reasonable. So you can go, okay, yeah, I agree with these high and low estimates, but this property is on the higher end. So we're going to update it to 810, and I'm going to save that. Now we're going to warn you just to say, hey, just so you know, you're adjusting the price range. Make sure you can justify this. That's fine. You understand. You can save it. Now I made it 815. But now you can go along and you've got an up-to-date version of this report. Likewise, you may feel the rent is not correct. You may go, actually, it's a little on the high side. Probably only go for 3610. So you can save that and you can adjust that number as well. So you've got a lot of control here to adjust these numbers to whatever you think makes sense. You can change the narrative. If there's something in here that bothered you, you can go in and make some revisions, hit save. Same here with the rental narrative. When it comes to the property details themselves, now I created this using our CMA tool. So you saw me go into the account menu and hit CMA generator. Now what that does is that just creates a report really quickly for you. If you want to go and start refining details, like you can go, oh, actually it's a 4-bathroom, not a 3.5. Well, what we've done is we've created a listing that represents this property in your account for you. So when you go to your dashboard, you can now see this listing here. You go into that, and it's going to show you a report. That's all great. But we can click Edit Listing. We can go down here. We can change the bathrooms to 4. Excellent. We're happy. I'm just going to move my face out of the way here. And I can click Create. It's going to go back. And now it's going to revise the report based on the fact that the bathrooms are different to what the county records provided us. So this report's going to come through slightly different now. And this is a really important step. Again, if you want to show up and really be informed, you may need to update your report to reflect some certain realities. So in this case, you can see we've crossed it. We've left it here to say that that's what the records show, but this is what the reality says. And that allows you to go along and update your pricing. Now, all these details, not something that you necessarily need to worry about, but it's something we encourage you to consider. It's obviously going to change the comparables based on when you adjust things like that. It's going to leave the ones that were previously excluded, but it might bring in new ones because now it's in a different category of house. So what we would encourage you to do generally is, again, just verify the comparables make sense. So maybe there's some that don't make sense here. So let's have a look. I'm going to remove this guy because it's kind of outside of our band, and I'm going to remove this guy. And then I'm going to regenerate it one more time. And now it's probably about the best report that I can generate quickly anyway. So we've adjusted the bathrooms, we've adjusted the comparables, and we're just waiting for the new result here. And there we go. Okay, so it's given us a completely different number based on the fact that we pulled out those higher numbers, which may or may not make sense to you based on the specifics of this area, but it gives you the ability to go through and make an assessment. So now we have our CMA. If you're happy with it, or you're not, you can keep playing with it, but if you're happy with it, you can go into print mode here. Now by default, your agent branding from your account will get pulled in. You can choose, you can hide that if you don't want it to be there. You can obviously manage it and change that. But you can go into the print section here. It's going to give you a mark analysis. It's just going to optimize it for the print mode. And then the print preview will show up over the top here. And you've got your analysis that you can just print out. So just to give you a quick look at what that looks like, this is it from top to bottom. It's styled slightly different because on print mode, we've got to simplify some things for printing. But generally, it's going to look exactly as what we gave you before. All your details are there. The only thing that's different is your branding's thrown up at the top here. So you can print this out, take it with you, and frankly, you'll probably show up way more prepared than 9 out of 10 of the agents that this potential seller has spoken to. So I encourage you to check out a CMA tool. Very easy to access. You just got to go into your account, hit CMA generator, or alternatively, any listing that you've been working on. After you've created a listing, you go through, you do your whole process, create listing. Maybe you're working on a listing description earlier. When you are done, you can go to any of these assets across the top, and CMA is one of them. As long as your listing is in the United States, you will be able to generate a CMA instantly. It just takes a few seconds. Hope that's helpful, and if you have any questions, as always, I'm Andrew at ListingAI. You can email me, andrew@listingai.com, and I look forward to hearing from you. Have a great day.